My fiancée asked for space, then took a beach vacation with her ex using my money. I sold her car and changed the locks before she got home. Okay, Reddit. I was engaged until my fiancée suddenly told me I need space. I respected her requests. A few days later her friend provided me with images showing her on vacation with her ex. I didn't say anything. I got to work. By the time she returned, her key had stopped working. Her car was gone, as was her role in my life. Here's how things went down. Let me start at the beginning. I am a 29-year-old male who owns a custom motorcycle shop in Farah. Good money, nothing extravagant but enough to live well in Arizona. I've been grinding since I was 20. After years of working 60 or more hours a week, I finally got the shop properly established last year. It began with simply me in a little garage area hired from an old mechanic who was retiring. I now have 4 full-time staff and a reputation for doing some of the cleanest custom work in the Southwest. The shop was not given to me on a silver platter either. To grow my capital, I saved every dollar I earned while working at other stores, took night studies in business management, and lived in a shoebox-sized studio apartment for 3 years. It's deeply fulfilling to walk into my shop every morning knowing that every bolt, tool and square inch is there because I earned them. I've never been the sort to splurge on costly things. My father watched his brother lose everything in a horrible divorce in the 1990s, house, retirement funds, and even having to liquidate his little business to pay the settlement. From the beginning my father instilled in me the importance of financial responsibility. Luke, build your own safety net because no one else will. This counsel proved to be life-saving. I recall purchasing my first good tool kit. Dad came over to my flat, noticed me organizing these brand new snap-on wrenches and simply nodded. Good investment. Tools make money, toys don't. He then assisted me in creating a custom storage solution for them out of scrap wood from his own garage. That's my father. Practical advice followed by practical assistance. I acquired my flat 3 years ago when the market was down a little. The remainder of my money goes directly to investment accounts and the shop. The 2 exceptions to my modest lifestyle are my Ducati Monster, which is midnight black with bespoke exhaust that sounds like pure mechanical poetry, and my dog Max, a 3-year-old German Shepherd who has been with me since he was a puppy. I would occasionally take him shopping. Customers adored him, and he'd just sit outside my office occasionally greeting folks with a tennis ball in his jaws. Max and I have had the most steady relationship of my life. There is no drama or complaints about working late. Only pure loyalty. The type of friend who is equally content going for a mountain run or simply laying at your feet as you work on engine plans. My fiancée Aretha, a 27-year-old woman, and I had been together for 2 years and engaged for the last 6 months. The wedding is scheduled for this fall and payments have already been made on the venue, caterers and other details. She relocated to my flat after the first year. On the surface everything looked to be going well. She had her career and I had mine at the shop. We had the entire future planned out. Meeting Aretha felt like fate at the time. We met through a mutual friend at a housewarming party. She was stunning with flawlessly styled blonde hair and the kind of presence that turns heads when she walks into a room. Smart too, always understood what to say to clients and how to work a room. Our first few dates went perfectly. She appeared to be engaged in my business, asking the appropriate questions and laughing at my jokes. I'm thinking about how I overlooked several red signs. She'd make remarks about my buddies being very simple because they like sports and gaming. I dubbed my closest friend Tristan's apartment a man cave nightmare since he had gaming consoles and a large TV. Tristan never liked her. He felt she had princess vibes and was always observing how she acted differently around certain individuals. Notice how she talks to that waiter versus how she talks to your landlord, he'd tell you. 2 different individuals. I dismissed it as her being socially adaptive. That's what males do sometimes. We see what we want to see. When a woman who looks like she belongs on a magazine cover expresses interest, we ignore the warning signs. Basic male programming fault. But I ignored it all because I believed we were solid. The sex was excellent. She looked stunning on my arm at professional functions. And I thought I had found someone who appreciated my efforts. When she suggested marriage, I thought, why not? I was settled and ready to begin the next chapter. It was a random evening in May. I was preparing dinner. Yes, I did the majority of the cooking even after spending all day at the shop while she was too tired from sitting at a desk when my phone rang with a text message. Luke, things feel complicated. I'm stressed over the wedding and I really need some space to think and figure things out. Don't contact me for a while please, I'll reach out when I'm ready. It was more than just a gut punch. 6 months to our wedding and she needs space. There was no warning or communication, only a text requesting me to effectively disappear while she figured things out. But it's fine. I tried to be understanding. I texted back. Okay, I understand. Take the time you need. Then nothing. He requested for radio silence. I spent the following few days in a fog. Could not concentrate at work. I was working on a custom seat for a 72 Triumph when Tristan walked by the shop. He watched me sand the leather for about 20 minutes before stating, "Dude, that seat was done half an hour ago. You're just going through the motions." He was correct. I set down the tools and closed the shop early for the first time in months. Tristan came over on Thursday night with pizza and told me plainly, "Dude, this isn't normal. Nobody asks for space 6 months before their wedding unless they're doing something dodgy." Initially I defended her. Perhaps she's just stressed about the wedding. Her mother has been putting a lot of pressure on her over the guest list. Even with my own ears it sounded faint. Tristan just gave me the look that says you're smarter than this without saying anything. He has been my friend since high school. Been with me during my mother's passing. Helped me move my shop twice. Never asked for anything in exchange. The type of friend that arrives with tools when you suggest a project, not excuses when you need assistance. Then Friday night I received a text from Aretha's friend Melissa. She's one of Aretha's co-workers and we've always gotten along. "Luke, I think you should see this. I feel bad showing you, but you deserve to know." Attached is a screenshot from Aretha's Instagram close friends story in which Melissa participated. Pictures of beautiful sunshine, the beach, cocktails, and Aretha looking outrageously joyful while arm in arm with Jordan, her ex-boyfriend. This was the caption: "Living our best lives. Island getaway reunited." Sometimes you need to revisit the past to see your future clearly. My blood became chilly. Face to Think referred to a tropical vacation with her ex-boyfriend and she specifically requested that I not contact her. And she was naive enough to publish it on her close friend's story, oblivious to the fact that Melissa and I were friends. I called Melissa to get further information. It turned out that Aretha had informed everyone at work that she was taking vacation days due to a family emergency. Melissa emailed me photographs of an emergency involving bikinis, pina coladas, and her ex-boyfriend's tongue stuck down her throat. The hurt transformed into something else. A cold and harsh clarity. She didn't simply desire space, she wanted me out of the way while she tested her old relationship, keeping me as a backup plan in my own apartment, utilizing my resources while urging me to leave her alone. All the while my wedding venues received my deposits and her engagement ring was on her finger in the beach images. Fine. Saturday morning I switched into tactical mode. First call: wedding venue cancelled. I lost my $5,000 deposit, but whatever, cheaper than a divorce. Second call: caterer, another $2,000 spent. Photographer, florist, and DJ. One by one I meticulously deleted the wedding she had spent months arranging. The next call is for a locksmith. I had my apartment doors, deadbolt and knob lock updated. It cost around $250 and was well worth the money. I spent the next hour poring over documents documenting what I had paid for and what she had. The reality was grim. My contribution amounted to approximately 80% of our split expenses. Next, the ring. Aretha had simply placed it on her nightstand before departing. Probably didn't want tan lines on her beach photos with Jordan. My 3K diamond cost me about $15,000. I stored it in my safe along with the paperwork proving I had purchased it. In Arizona, engagement rings are considered conditional gifts. The automobile needs context. About 6 months ago Aretha's old Honda died. The timing belt snapped, bent the valves. It would have cost more to fix than the automobile was worth. She needed dependable transportation for client meetings, but her credit was ruined after credit cards on luxury bags and $300 facial creams. I agreed to help. I paid approximately $18,000 for a used but very good Mazda 6. The financing, title and insurance are all in my name. I am not stupid. My father's brother committed the error. Allow his ex-wife to use the car he paid for throughout their separation. She totaled it and wasn't properly insured, so he had to pay off the loan while being sued by the other driver. This is not occurring to me. I called my father that night. I needed his perspective. Dad, Aretha asked for space, then went to Hawaii with her ex. I'm changing the locks and selling her car. There was a moment of stillness, then son, your Uncle Dave lost his house for less, you're doing what needs to be done. He then cleared his throat. Need help moving furniture? The agreement was that she would make payments to me, which she did sometimes late, and use her automobile. But legally it was completely mine. Never included her in anything. I drove the spare key to a dealership that buys second-hand vehicles. I'm the registered owner, I need to sell. They offered roughly $16,500 pending inspection. I completed the initial paperwork and left the car there. Her allotted parking spot at the apartment complex was unoccupied. When I told the manager at the dealership that I was selling my fiancée's automobile, she raised an eyebrow. I merely shrugged and said she wanted space. I'm giving her about 16,500 feet of it. I called Tristan and asked him to pick me up. He was impressed. Damn, you're ice cold right now, but she deserves it. We spent the weekend boxing her belongings from the flat. Not tossing it away but making it ready. Each designer shoe I counted 37 pairs. Every pricey bag. Every piece of jewelry I had given her for birthdays and anniversaries was carefully packed away. During the process I discovered a few fascinating things. Credit card statements showed hundreds of dollars in debt which she had never revealed. A hidden stockpile of emergency cash about $800 was fastened to the back of her drawer. A 3-month-old journal in which she had made pros and drawbacks lists comparing me to Jordan. My name featured financial stability and good future father in the advantages column. Jordan boasted exciting passionate and history together on his side. Guess which way she was leaning based on her current location. I also had a meeting with my lawyer. I shared the screenshots, explained the scenario and asked how I could defend myself. Arizona does not allow common law marriage, so there was that. We had never merged our funds. My flat was exclusively in my name and I legally owned the car. He advised documenting everything. The engagement, termination, the car sale and the contents of the flat. I was told to only converse in writing from now on. I felt tranquil as if I were executing an essential surgery. Did I feel like an absolute idiot? Absolutely. However, intellect not emotions was driving this bus. She requested space and no touch. She indicated that the relationship was over by taking a trip with her ex. I was merely honoring her request and protecting myself. The shop was quiet that weekend. I went in anyway just to have somewhere to stay. Started reorganizing the tool room, deep cleaning equipment and upgrading our inventory system. All of which get pushed aside during hectic periods. There's something soothing about establishing order to a room when your personal life is disorganized. My chief mechanic Diego came in for a few hours to assist with a hurried task. They didn't inquire why I was there on a Sunday, just offered me the things I needed. That is what I admire about the men at the shop. They recognize that working with your hands can help you process what's going on in your thoughts. According to Instagram, the Best Life vacation extended an additional week. The countdown to meltdown was underway. One small consolation amid all of this. At least my Ducati remained secure. Aretha had always grumbled that it was too risky and a waste of money, but I had insisted on maintaining it. When Tristan picked me up from the dealership, he looked at me and said, "We're going to ride bikes this weekend. You need it." He was correct. She had tried to get me to sell the Ducati around 6 months into our relationship. We could use that money for a down payment on a bigger place, she said. Never mind that I already owned my apartment and had no desire to incur additional debt for a larger space that we didn't need. The Ducati stayed and I was happy for the minor triumph. Sunday morning we rode our bikes through the highlands. Tristan rode his Kawasaki while I rode my Ducati. The concentration necessary to navigate such curves at speed was precisely what I needed. It's impossible to think about relationship problems when calculating lean angles and watching for gravel. Max was the only bit I felt guilty about. Aretha had agreed to our puppy, but she had never properly cared for him. She had grumbled about his fur, energy and the price of his food. Even so, if she didn't return he'd be confused. It turned out that I didn't need to worry. Max appeared content with just me there, taking the entire couch without being shooed away. Aretha's tropical holiday with Jordan lasted 10 days. Then D-Day came. Tuesday evening at 9 p.m. I was drinking a beer with Tristan, who insisted on being present in case things turned wild. We heard keys jingle outside, followed by puzzled scratching at the lock and pounding. Luke, opened the door, my key is not working. Tristan looked at me, showtime. I opened the door halfway. Aretha stood there looking beach-tanned and furious, her bag beside her. What the hell, why doesn't my key work? Because I changed the locks. My tone was steady. Her eyes expanded. You what? Why would you do that? You want distance and no communication, Aretha. I handed it to you permanently. Weddings are also cancelled. I've already called everyone. What are you talking about? I just needed some time to think. I took out my phone and showed Melissa the screenshot she emailed me. Think about this with Jordan on your romantic beach break which you mentioned? Her expression changed from indignant to panicked in an instant. Did Melissa show you that? That is not what it appears to be. It looks like my fiancée is on vacation with her ex while I am at home preparing our wedding. This is pretty self-explanatory. It was a last-minute situation. He was going through a difficult period and needed to talk to someone. Kristen snorted from behind me. I simply stared at her. So you go to Maui to be his therapist? Her gaze shifted to the empty parking spot. Where is my car, Luke? The arrogance in her voice was astounding. Like I had buried her toy. It's not your car, never was. It's being sold. Title, loan, insurance. All in my name. You're selling my car? She pounded her foot. You can't do that, I've been making payments. Thanks for using my car, which is now over. This is insane, I'm calling the cops. She took out her phone. Tristan, who had been observing, began giggling. Yeah, call them. Tell them your ex-fiancé is selling his own car and changed the locks on his own apartment after you cheated. That'll go well. Aretha looked as if she had just spotted him. This isn't your business. Tristan's reaction. You made it my business when you decided to mess around on my best friend. She returned to me and said, Luke baby, you're overreacting. Jordan means nothing to me. It was just a stupid trip to clear my head. I realized I want to be with you. I nearly laughed. Save the performance, your stuff is boxed up, text me when you want to pick it up. That's when her 25-year-old sister Brooke emerged from the elevator. Great. Reinforcements. Brooke was a little version of Aretha, the same entitled attitude, expensive taste, and tendency to treat service staff as if they were furniture. The only difference was that Brooke hadn't found her own sucker to support her lifestyle yet. What's going on? She insisted. Aretha, full of tears. He changed the locks. He sold my car. He cancelled our wedding. Brooke scowled at me as if I had perpetrated a war crime. After everything my sister has done for you, you just throw her out. Tristan snorted. What exactly has she done for him? Besides taking a beach vacation with her ex? I raised a hand, breaking off the brewing debate. Check her Instagram, we're done. Max began barking at the commotion from inside his condo. Aretha's eyes widened. Are you keeping Max too? The audacity was amazing. The dog whose name you couldn't remember half the time? That dog? She needed space to think, not for you to ruin her life, Brooke screamed. She made choices. Now she gets to live with the consequences. Your stuff will be in the lobby tomorrow at noon. 1 hour window. If it's not picked up, it goes to Goodwill. I shut and closed the door. Through the door I could hear Aretha's outburst growing. Tristan simply shook his head. Dude. Bullet dodged. Want another drink? Max, who had been carefully monitoring the door, approached and rested his head on my knee. I scratched behind his ear. It's just us now, buddy. Tristan raised the bottle. To the most expensive lesson you'll ever learn. I clinked my bottle against his. Worth every penny. Later that night, after Tristan had departed, I sat on my balcony and looked at the city lights. For the first time in months I was able to breathe freely. No more justifying why I had to work late at the shop. I will no longer protect my time with my pals. I sent my dad a quick SMS. This is me. It's done. Locks changed, cars sold, wedding cancelled. He responded a minute later. My dad. Proud of you, son, come by for steaks this weekend. Bring Max, your mom would have kicked her ass, by the way. That made me smile. Mom has been away for 6 years, but Dad was correct, she would have seen through Aretha in a heartbeat. The next day was like witnessing someone comprehend gravity as they stepped off a cliff. Aretha's texts began at 6 a.m. You can't do this to me. Where am I supposed to live? I need my car for work, we need to talk about this like adults, I made a mistake, but you're being cruel. I did not respond to any of them. Tristan and I loaded her boxes and delivered them to the lobby at noon sharp. I'd even ordered everything by category. A courtesy she didn't deserve, but I gave nonetheless, since I'm not an animal. Aretha arrived with Brooke and their mother Cheryl in tow. Cheryl, the root of Aretha's entitlement, attacked me right away. Luke, this is completely unacceptable behavior. Aretha made one mistake, she was confused, she's under so much pressure with the wedding. Not anymore, she's not. I pointed to the boxes, everything's here, you have 1 hour. My daughter lived there for a year without being on the lease, without paying rent, driving a car she didn't own, seems like the free ride is over. Cheryl's face became purple. Aretha alternated between crying and glaring daggers at me. Brooke was on her phone, most likely updating the others of the family drama group chat. I left them to it, informed the doorman they had till 1 p.m. and went to lunch with Tristan. When we returned they were gone along with her belongings. Uncompleted. But it did not end there. The number of SMS and phone calls increased significantly. Aretha Brooke Cheryl. Even their father joined in on it. When banning their numbers proved ineffective, they began using friends' phones. The story they were telling was something else. They claimed I had viciously dumped Aretha over a misunderstanding, stolen her car and kept her apartment. Of course, there's no mention of the ex's beach trip. Aretha's social media accounts went into overdrive. Vague posts about believing the wrong person and recovering from betrayal. A particularly striking one featured her staring wistfully out a window with the caption, "Sometimes the people you take a bullet for are the ones behind the trigger." The irony was thick enough to be sliced with a knife. Then our common friends started contacting me. "Dude, that's cold. Selling her car like that? Man, couldn't you have given her more time to find a place?" Melissa, bless her, was shutting that down anywhere she could. "He has screenshots people she was on a romantic trip with her ex while engaged." Aretha must have realized Melissa had emailed me the screenshots, since Melissa began contacting me shortly after. "She got me fired, told our boss I was creating a hostile work environment by meddling in her personal life. This is simply an FYI." That annoyed me more than anything else. Melissa had done the right thing, but Aretha wrecked her employment out of spite. I quickly called Melissa and offered to assist her with references, connections and whatever she needed. That was the least I could do. Melissa praised me. I knew she was self-centered, but I didn't think she'd go this far. I promised to provide her with some industry contacts who could be recruiting. She had skills. Melissa's vindictiveness should not jeopardize her profession. That night Tristan joined us for our weekly game session. We turned on Call of Duty while Max lounged at our feet. My phone continued buzzing with texts from Aretha, who was using yet another friend's phone number. Tristan grabbed my phone between rounds and began reading them in a mocking tone. "You're making a huge mistake, Luke. I was confused, but I chose you. Please respond." Tristan scrolled to the next one with theatrical flair. "My mother is very disappointed in you and says you're behaving childishly." I grasped my chest in mock horror. "Guess I'll just cry myself to sleep on my Ducati." Another line read, "I hope you know you're breaking my heart. I cried all night thinking about our wedding." Tristan almost choked on his drink. "Oh my God, she's seriously complaining about her vacation time after cheating on you." My phone vibrated again. Tristan stared at it and erupted into laughter. "Dude, she just texted, I miss Max, he misses me too. Dogs need a mother." I looked at Max, who was happily eating his favorite toy. "Yeah, he's clearly devastated. Look at him, practically wasting away from grief." Tristan was still going through my messages. "Wait, here's one from her dad. Luke, I've always respected you as a businessman. But your behavior towards my daughter is unacceptable. We expect you to make this right." Tristan tilted his head toward me. "What exactly does this right mean? Give her back the car you paid for? Let her live in your apartment rent-free?" I shrugged. Probably all of the above, plus a groveling apology for having the audacity to be upset about her cheating. The entire affair was ludicrous to the point of comedy. Aretha and her family lived in a world where deeds had no consequences, at least for them. In their vision of reality, I was the villain for reacting rationally to her betrayal. At work I worked on a new project, a vintage Honda CB750 that a client had handed off for thorough restoration. There's something soothing about breaking down an engine into its separate components, cleaning each one and rebuilding it better than before. The shop became my refuge, a location where issues had logical solutions and tasks had definite beginnings and ends. My employees sensed a shift in me. Diego, my head mechanic, finally questioned what was going on after I had spent 3 hours changing a wiring harness without taking a break. I handed him the highlight reel. His response was flawless. A thoughtful nod followed. "Women, man. My cousin went through the same thing. You want me to order those brake calipers for the Triumph while you finish that wiring?" That's all I needed. Practical answers, not theatrics. The shop remained open late that week as I put myself into work. Nothing heals heartache like productivity and a bank account that is growing rather than bleeding money for someone else's desires. Dad went by the shop with lunch on Thursday, continuing a custom he established when I first opened it. We'd bring sandwiches from a small deli near his house and we'd eat in my office, chatting about everything and nothing. "How are you holding up?" he said between bites. "Better than expected," I acknowledged. "Work helps." He nodded. "Your Uncle Dave gained 15 pounds after his divorce, sat around eating microwave burritos and watching game shows. He smiled at me and said, you're doing it right, stay busy, keep moving forward." It's all advice, but just what I needed to hear. 2 weeks following his return, the actual harassment campaign began. The police arrived first. I arrived home from work to see a patrol cruiser outside my building. 2 cops wanted to discuss a domestic dispute and charges that I was withholding personal items. I gave them the documents my lawyer had prepared, proof of automobile ownership and apartment contract in my name solely, and cancelled wedding receipts. I showed them the screenshot of Aretha and Jordan. I explained that I'd given her all of her stuff. They departed satisfied, as this was a relational issue rather than a legal one. As they left, one of the officers gave me a knowing look. "Document everything from here on out," he said gently. "These situations tend to escalate." Words of wisdom from someone who had seen this happen before. The next day my landlord called with a noise complaint. Unfortunately, an unidentified neighbor reported loud disputes and potential domestic disturbances. I explained the problem. Fortunately, I had a positive relationship with the property management. She stated that she had witnessed Aretha try to tailgate residents into the building multiple times, which was against protocol. The situation then escalated. Aretha and Brooke began showing up at my business, just happening to be in the lobby as I was leaving. Aretha once attempted to force her way into the elevator with me, shouting about how I had ruined her life. When Diego and the other guys realized what was going on, they constructed a protective barrier. "Boss? Do you want us to call security?" Diego inquired, placing himself between Aretha and me. I nodded and they led the sisters out. "My squad has my back, no questions asked." This was getting out of control. I filed a police report about the harassment. I started documenting every conversation, saving every text and voicemail, installing a security camera at my apartment door that was linked to my phone, and giving the front desk a photo of Aretha with instructions not to let her up under any circumstances. The breaking point occurred when I awoke to discover my car's tires slashed. At 3 a.m. security cameras saw Brooke doing it. The camera was extremely clear, with her face visible as she knelt by each tire, meticulously puncturing them with what seemed to be a hunting knife. Police were called, charges were filed. The incident report estimated the damage at more than $800. I upgraded all 4 tires to high-performance ones last year. Thankfully my insurance paid everything after the deductible, but having the car hauled and repaired was a significant nuisance. I became paranoid about the Ducati after that. I started parking it in a secure garage a block away just in case. There was no way I was letting them get to my baby. That bike was the payoff for years of hard work. If they had harmed it, I'm not sure I could have kept my cool. That same day I received an email from Jordan, of all people. "Man, I'm sorry about all this. She told me you two were already over before our trip. I didn't know you were still engaged. She's been showing up at my place too. Just thought you should know." Aretha had fed him a whole lie that we had broken up weeks before, that I was possessive and that I refused to accept the end of our relationship. When he discovered the truth through common friends, he ended things quickly. Now she was turning up abruptly at his apartment, crying and wanting another chance. "Bullet dodged, brother," he replied before hanging up. I couldn't argue with that. Later I discovered that Aretha had spread allegations about me being aggressive, controlling her finances and trapping her in the relationship. She portrayed herself as the victim of a domineering monster rather than a lady who was found cheating and lost her meal ticket. What's the problem with her narrative? Too many people had witnessed the reality. My neighbors had noticed me walking Max alone every night while she stayed inside watching Netflix. My staff had witnessed her show up demanding money while her credit cards were maxed up. Our pals had witnessed how she treated service personnel when she believed no one was watching. Tristan and Melissa stood by each other through everything. Tristan even informed Aretha via a mutual friend that I was documenting everything for a restraining order. Melissa, despite losing her job, provided me more screenshots of Aretha talking about the beach trip to her pals before leaving. Luke thinks I'm just thinking, LOL. Meanwhile, Jordan and I will be living it up in paradise. The screenshots included timestamps and dates. There is undeniable proof of purposeful dishonesty. I included it all to the expanding dossier that my lawyer was maintaining. I contacted my father following the tire slashing incident. "They're escalating," I said. "Slashed my tires, showing up at work, spreading rumors." "Makes sense," he responded with surprising calm. "How does any of this make sense?" "Son, you revoked her free ride. People do not surrender resources without a battle. Your uncle's ex-wife did the same thing. She keyed his truck and told the neighbors he was cheating. It's what happens when the gravy train stops moving." He stopped, then said, "Did you put up your security camera like I showed you?" "Yes, sir. I caught her sister on video with the knife." "Good man." I filed for a restraining order. There was a lot of evidence. Workplace incidents, slashed tires, continual harassment, bogus police reports, and dozens of messages from various numbers after being banned. The hearing was planned. I was ready. The restraining order hearing was like viewing a real-life version of the shocking Pikachu meme. Aretha arrived with Cheryl dressed as if they were going to church, perhaps anticipating pity from the court. I arrived with my lawyer and a binder full of evidence. Aretha's tactic became evident quickly. Portray a sad, bewildered young woman who made a mistake and was now being punished excessively by a domineering ex. It could have worked if we hadn't had the receipts. My lawyer meticulously documented the pattern of harassment. The judge flipped over the evidence with an increasingly serious expression. The judge issued the restraining order immediately. 3 years and no contact within 500 feet of me, my house or my business. That should have been the end. But Aretha's family had one final hand to play: desperation. About a month after the hearing, Cheryl contacted. The family was in financial difficulties. Aretha was unable to retain a job without transportation. Brooke had legal fees from the vandalism charge. They needed aid. Could you please contemplate selling Aretha's car back? Perhaps you could lend them some money to help them get back on their feet. I laughed so hard. Absolute audacity. These guys had attempted to harm my name, job and property, and now they sought financial help. Cheryl, I whispered. Aretha and Brooke are both in violation of the restraining order by having you contact me. I'm forwarding this call to my lawyer and the police. Don't call again. Later I learned what happened by word of mouth. Aretha was sacked from her work. It turns out that constantly missing work because you don't have a car does not look professional. Her credit cards were maxed up after the beach holiday. She'd been crashing with her parents, but her frequent demands had strained their marriage. Jordan? Gone. He blocked Aretha after she repeatedly showed up inebriated at his flat. Brooke was sentenced to community service as well as reparations for slashing the tires. As for me, I sold the engagement ring and went on a 2-week solo vacation to Europe. I posted exactly 0 images online. When I returned, I painted the entire apartment, purchased new furniture, and reclaimed my home. The place looked better than ever. Now it's a tidy, efficient space where a guy and his dog may live peacefully. Tristan and I meet frequently, and he's actually getting along with Melissa now, which is an unexpected bonus. They've been dating for almost a month. Sometimes the 4 of us, including Max, gather at my house for game nights. It's good to see 2 people that truly respect each other. The shop was also booming. After that first week of fog, I threw myself into a major custom project, renovating a beat-up Harley Sportster into something spectacular. Stripped it down to the frame, rebuilt the engine with performance parts, and applied a unique paint job with delicate metal flakes that changed color depending on the light. Tristan had stopped by during the final assembly and whistled when he noticed it. Wow. You really outdid yourself with this one. The tank paint alone is worth what you're asking. The client who commissioned it was so thrilled that he recommended 3 friends who wanted comparable work. In the biker world, word of mouth is more effective than paid advertising. Diego and the crew had also made significant contributions throughout the Aretha ordeal. There were times when I wasn't feeling my best, and they took care of me without complaint. When the Sportster project was highlighted in a motorcycle magazine, I ensured that everyone received credit and bonuses. A good team is worth its weight in gold. About 3 months after the restraining order, I was at a motorcycle show in Las Vegas showing one of my custom builds. A woman approached and began asking thorough questions about the fabrication work. Not the typical "it's pretty" comments, but precise technical inquiries that demonstrated her knowledge. Sarah, 28, is an industrial designer who rides a Triumph Street Triple. We exchanged numbers professionally but ended up messaging about motorcycles and other topics. We've been dating informally for several months. She has her own career, apartment, and money. She strokes Max behind the ears right where he prefers it. Max brought Sarah his favorite toy the first time she came over, which he had never done before with Aretha. Dogs recognize exceptional individuals when they encounter them. Sarah attended Sunday lunch at my father's house last week. They spent 2 hours discussing motorbike engine design while I prepared steaks. Dad contacted me later. She knows her stuff. Good choice, son. My praise from a man who is naturally distrustful of everyone. I discovered more about myself in those few months than in the previous decade. I discovered I'm stronger than I expected. That I have folks in my corner who will show up when I need them. And that sometimes the best thing to do with poisonous people is to cut them off totally. These days I'm too busy developing bikes and a better life to think about what could have been. Certain classes are pricey. But gosh, are they worth it? Thank you for watching. For more videos like this, remember to like and subscribe. Also remember to let us know your thoughts below in the comments.